You're listening to the Hunt Stealth Podcast with Ryan Uffins, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild. Whether you're an aspiring hunter or an adventurer seeking the untamed, together we'll explore the strategies and stories that lead to success in the great outdoors.
We're here today at the Hunt Expo, and we've got Adam Buchanan from Black Ovis joining us. Adam, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you share a little bit about your background, because you've been in the industry for a long time.
I know. So I started mostly in outdoor. Actually, the owner, co-founder of Camo Fire and Black Ovis is Kendall Card. We've had a long friendship. We started backcountry.com, and he kind of brought me up into marketing. That was my first kind of go at it. So I've moved around a lot, done brand, retail. I was at Columbia Sportswear for quite a while, and then moved on to Cabela's. And it was funny, when I went to Cabela's, I was like, I need to buy a weapon. You know what I mean? Like that's what they did for team building. It was like, let's go pheasant shooting, let's go, shoot stuff. And,
yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so bought a bow at a pawn shop, had no idea what I was doing. I mean, YouTube was around. I'm not that old.
I'm older than you, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not ancient, but I didn't think to go to YouTube and be like, how do I shoot a bow? It was just odd. And so I just kind of fumbled through it, was going to archery shops, and they'd be like, here, you do it like this and that. I'm like, cool, sounds good. And I just would build off of that. And so no one taught it to me, really. I didn't grow up doing this. And
it's wild, because now people start on YouTube. If they're thinking about getting a hobby, they go to YouTube and even the socials to see what other people are doing. There's so much great content out there for folks that are new to the game, like me. I'm new. I'm only 4 years into this and trying to figure it out. So that's cool that you were able to get into it that way. I mean, you were thrust into it.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit more fire than aim, and it's just hey, I just want to go do this, and I just buy everything for it, and I just go. And I'll have people message me, because I do a podcast called First Generation Bow Hunter, and it's just my story of didn't grow up doing this, figuring it out. And people message me man, I've been researching bows for 6 months, and I've shot all these bows. I'm like, what bow would you recommend? I'm like, I don't know, just shoot stuff. Any of them will kill an animal, if you're dialed in. And so I'm just yeah, man, let's go. Just figure it out. And that's what I've done with all my hobbies. So
I think a little bit of advice to someone who is newer to the game: if you're looking at getting a bow, go down to your local pro bow shop, and get one in your hand. They'll take you in the back. They'll let you pull it back. It's crazy. When I first started, I'm oh, they're all going to be the same, and you really can't go wrong. I mean, but you start holding them, they feel a little bit different in your hands, and you can kind of find something that feels comfortable for you.
Yeah. But I just try to tell people too, if you're having fun, that's where you're going to shoot your bow and really practice it. And so I think it's right. It's when you're pulling a few bows back, if you're comfortable, you're going to want to shoot that thing all the time. And people will say, well, how much should I spend on a bow? And what I say is...
It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. And I bounce around over the years a little bit. Now I'm kind of in the camp of spend as much as you can, but know that you're going to have to spend more for all the accessories. But spend as much as you can, because there's differences of a 15-year-old bow and these newer ones. And maybe find that sweet spot. It doesn't have to be the $2,500 bow, bear bow that has nothing on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's a little bit nicer, you're going to shoot it. When it's hitting accurately, you're going to be having so much fun, and then you can tinker from there. But if it's all over the place, it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, and when you start hitting your target too, and you can move back and that grouping stays tight, the confidence builds, and it makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, but my drive for hunting too, I read that book, Wild at Heart by John Eldridge.
Never read that.
Fantastic book. He takes kind of a Christian look at being a man, and we're adventurous.
I have heard of that. Okay, yeah. I've heard of it.
Born in the wilderness. He starts the first few pages of, he's I'm up on these ridges in Colorado looking for elk with my boys, and you're just
pulled right in.
I want that. That's what I want. And so that book pulled me in, and I was
awesome.
okay, I want to go hunt something.
And was that before or after you kind of got into the industry? Or
that was before, maybe right around the same time.
Kind of planted the seed for you.
Yep, totally. And so that to me was kind of propelled me forward. Like, okay, this is worth something. Because he also brings it back to, okay, my name's Adam, but like Adam and Eve. And he's like, Adam was like naked in the wilderness. Like, that's how he started. And so
he didn't know any different.
He didn't know any different. And it's just like, that's what they did. They planted stuff. I mean, they were like homesteaders, right? They didn't start with like, here's your iPhone, here's 50 apps, you'll do great.
They weren't really given like a rule book.
Right.
Right?
Like,
They didn't know there were rules.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't know right or wrong. I mean, it was like, don't eat the fruit. That was the only direction they were given. And it's like, good luck.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, that's our DNA. So when people are like, oh, I want to get into hunting, I'll tell them, I'm like, you already kind of have that in your DNA. So the fact that you want to do it now is pretty natural.
Well, and I was talking with Tyrell Thompson over with PSC Outdoors.
Oh.
We just talked with him, and we talked. I said, when you get outside, it's just interesting that you say that because it's like mountain medicine, right?
Yeah.
Like I go out in the outdoors. I've yet to have a successful harvest, but I just come back still just feeling like revitalized.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to just that draw. There's like that innate nature that's inside of us to get back outdoors and be in God's world that he provided for us.
Yeah, and I have had so many unsuccessful seasons. I think I was 6 or 7 unsuccessful seasons. But
I'm getting close then.
Yeah, you're getting there. Yeah, you're fine. But when you get these little successes, it can kind of build off of that. And I think that's what's cool and exciting is like, all right, a success for me literally was I spotted some deer 250 yards away and I got into 100 yards and then they bounced. But that was a success for me.
Yeah.
And I think with hunting, it'll teach you to redefine success pretty fast because it can't be killing something every time.
Yeah. There's a lot of guys that get it done every single time and they make it look like that's the standard, and that's not the standard.
Totally.
You've got guys that become expert in the games and they're really good at what they do, and like I commend them, but there's also the other aspect where you have these guys that just got, like for me, like what you were just talking about, I get out there and I'm learning to like read the animals and understand their behavior, and I'm like, when I can get myself in the right position where I can see tracks and I'm like, oh,
yes,
there's evidence that they're here. I can't see them, but they're here.
Now,
I just need to, keep working. And those are the successes, at least for me, that I've had lately that just get me drawn back into it. And then you come to the Hunt Expo and you talk to people, and it's kind of like geeking out, man.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think brands who are going to be successful is being thoughtful of that type of hunter who's just getting into it, because there's new hunters pouring in all the time, and I think at Cabela's we talked about 4 different type of hunters. There's the new hunter, there's the what is it? Oh gosh, now I'm going to screw it up. Dang it.
Take your time.
It was like new hunter, brand new, get the shot off. Then there was freezer filler, trophy hunter, and then mentor. The mentor is an interesting one. I've done every hunt. I've done it years and years and years. Now my success is seeing other people's success. And I think as a new hunter where I've seen some success, I'm starting to feel that a little bit. But I skipped over trophy. I'm like not interested in trophy at all.
Yeah, I mean, you walk around, especially a place like this, and you look at some of the animals, and it's like, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But for me, like I'm in the new hunter / like I just want to fill the freezer. Like I want to get some meat in the freezer.
Yes. Yeah. That's
my goal this year.
Yeah. Have you been able to take a shot?
No. So when I started this 4 years ago, and I've told this, so for those of you that have heard this, I'm sorry, I'll make it short. But we were just up in Davis County. It was the last day of archery season, and we'd been up there like hoofing around, and we could hear them, but I couldn't find anything. Anyway, we're going down into this little watering hole that we had found.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I bet you they're down there. So it's early. It's like 5 a.m. We get up. We start going down. We're looking. It's finally around like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I hear this freight train. I'd never heard anything in the woods like this. Like just like branches breaking, and I'm like, either this is like a bull elk or like it's a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm done. But anyway, I turn around and I see this big boy just coming through like the scrub. I mean, it was like thick. I was on a slope, and I'm watching him, and he's coming into an opening, and I'm going, there's no way this is going to be like my first bull. And we're just sitting there, and I'm watching him. I'm like, okay, like I draw back, and I see him about 3 yards from an opening to where I would have a shot on vitals. All of a sudden I feel like we were going down to the water hole, so the wind had been coming up, so I was not where I needed to be.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you just got to get out there and see what happens. But anyway, all of a sudden I feel this breeze hit the back of my neck, and I see him like turn.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, this is what being busted looks like.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Dang.
So anyway, about like 3 seconds later, boom, he was gone. And last day of the hunt, never found him. He was a monster.
That's amazing.
Funny story. I don't know if I've shared this or not, but it was last day came down, and like I took my family. They'd wanted to go to this concert, so we were out at I forget what they called it now, the outdoor theater.
Yeah.
It's changed its name recently.
Tuacahn?
It's
down south?
No. The one it was USANA.
USANA, yeah.
And now it's it doesn't matter. But anyway, we're down there. And I bump into a buddy. He's like, "Did you have anything?" He was like, "Look!" And it was the opening day of like the youth hunt.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Look at what my niece just shot."
Oh my gosh.
And he shows me, and I'm like 90% sure that was the same bull, because I can't imagine there's a whole bunch of monsters that were up where we were at.
Yeah.
But like my heart sank. I'm like, I think that was the bull that I was drawn back on at 30 yards.
That's 30 yards?
Yeah, but I didn't have a shot on vitals.
Oh, okay.
So I'm waiting for him to pop into that opening, and I was going to do like a little bark, see if I could just get him to pause, and I was locked in. I knew right where I needed to be.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, I saw that, and I'm going, he showed me, I'm like, well, tell her congrats.
Well,
I'm glad I let that thing go for her.
Yeah, there you go. But man, like 30 yards, just, dude, that's
what hooked me.
That's
what
insane.
Hooked me. This episode of the Hunt Stealth podcast is brought to you by ReadyWise Outdoor. When you're chasing adventure, you need energy you can count on. ReadyWise Pro Meals are packed with over 30 grams of protein and 500 plus calories per serving to keep you energized no matter the terrain. From the protein-packed breakfast skillet to the Thai coconut cashew curry, these lightweight, freeze-dried meals are ready in minutes. Made in the USA, ReadyWise is built for hunters and explorers just like you. Visit ReadyWiseOutdoor.com and use promo code Ryan20 to save 20% off your next order. That's what hooked me.
That's
what
insane.
Hooked me.
Yeah.
And I've yet to draw back on anything else yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been up, like, so my partner who's here, Dustin and Quinn and Jackson, they're all part of, Hunt Stealth and what we're trying to build. We went up mule deer hunting, and we had a little forky at like 20 yards rolled in on us, and so, but I didn't have a tag. We were just up there, help spotting, looking for animals. So it's fun just to be out there and be part of it and to see what's happening and what the potential is. So he's like, I'm gonna let him. He goes, I'm gonna let him live. Like, well, I'm looking for something, and he's had success, and he's kind of in that other. He's not looking for trophies, but he's like, I don't want to just take an animal just to fill a tag. I mean, it's not the stage he's at.
So this is my buck from this extended last season.
Oh man!
And I was pretty excited about it, honestly.
That's a great buck.
It's kind of cool.
That's way
Show that
cool.
to the camera there. So, but when you look at that and it's like, oh, cool. Like, to me, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I think every hunter has a different level of success. But then you look at this guy, and dude, it's like, oh, is that an elk? No, it's just a bigger freaking mule deer.
Deer, yeah.
So it's cool. Like, everyone's in different stages, and I think that's just part of it. But it's, like one of my favorite quotes is like, comparison is the thief of joy.
Okay, let's move this back here.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
There we go.
It's like you've done this before.
Once or twice. I'm still learning.
Yeah. So like, but dude, when I got my hands on this, biggest buck I've ever shot. It was second buck I've ever shot, and it's like, oh my gosh. And the hunt was funny. It was like a total opportunistic hunt. Like I told the story, and someone was like, "Oh man, you're kind of an opportunistic hunter." I'm like, yeah. What else would I be? Like, if you have an opportunity, you're gonna take it.
So tell me about it. Let's talk about it.
This is pretty cool. So I'm here at Black Ovis. I do marketing, and often we're out trying to get content. So I'm out with Craig. He works in the Craig Key, comes from Easton, and he's been here 3 or 4 years. Craig's just he's a great, fun partner in crime where we can go out and get content. So that was the goal. It was like, and we threw in some game bags. We have this new fluorescent orange game bag. We're like, let's go get some content for these game bags.
I've got some of those.
Yeah, kind of sweet.
I can't wait to use them.
Yes, I know. You're like burning a hole in your backpack. And so we go out, and it's like, he's like, go ahead of me. I'm a little behind you. I'm like, yep, totally. So we're on the e-bikes, and we're just pulling up on this ridge, and he's got a better e-bike than I do that day. And so he just blazes past me, and I'm like, oh, man. And so we get up, and gosh, probably 10, 15 minutes into legal light. And he's like, yeah, we're just going to pop around here and so we're just kind of on this single track, you know. And I was like, okay, I'll follow you. And I look up, and there are like 8 deer, 4 does, 4 bucks. This guy was the biggest, and then kind of some forkies and a small one. And I'm like, 40 yards. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And Craig had kind of zipped forward. He was a little ahead of me, and I'm like, hey. And I don't know what got into me, like why I was making noise, but I like yelled at him. I'm like, hey, they're right there. And I mean, they are right there. And it was like the ultimate mistake. Like, I'm yelling, you know, but they were super comfortable.
They're probably not used to hearing that. They're like, what's happening?
Yeah. And so he looks, and he's like, you want to take a shot? And I had my bow and everything. Like, I was ready to fill a tag.
Yeah.
But we really went out just to like maybe get some cool shots, you know. And we had some new product that just hit. And so, anyway, get a range, and they'd kind of shuffled. They're like, okay, he's pulling a bow off his back. That doesn't look good for us. So anyway, I get up, get drawn back, and he had kind of moved, but they weren't like crazy skidded. Like, they were comfortable. And I was
so you were probably in an area that hadn't had a whole bunch of pressure.
Yeah.
So they're still like in that.
Yeah, and like we're like a month and a half into the hunt, and so it's just kind of a funny period. But the weather had dropped. That's what it was. Remember how hot it was last fall? And then there was one day it dropped in half, the temperatures. And so it was like, dude, this is going to be a good morning to go out. And so it was just temperature is pretty darn important, honestly. So anyway,
we've never talked about temperature.
Yeah,
we'll come back. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah, So anyway, get drawn back 65 yards, and then he moved back just a little bit, and I just kind of. This is a tricky part: is when you're ranged in, you draw back, and then they move 2 yards. You've got to make decisions. Like, you have to like compensate for that. So I did, and
it's way different than just having a target sitting out in the backyard, and it's like it doesn't move.
Targets don't move. Yeah, last time I checked, they don't move. So so we.
So it moves a little bit, and you're kind of trying to like gauge.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to maybe add another 2 yards onto this.
Right. So just right through the friggin' heart, like. Phenomenal shot. I was so amped on it. Like, I was more excited about the shot than the antlers, truthfully, because he was down. Like, we saw him he kind of did this circle, and then he just kind of side-hilled, and then we heard it crash. And I'm like, did that just happen? Like, me and Craig are both just like, I fell on the ground. I literally fell on the ground, like, laughing, something, like emotional breakdown. It was so weird. And so, but what was crazy was, and I have a son who is also shooting archery, the other does and bucks, they were just chilling right there. Normally when you take a shot like that and Jimmy goes down, like, they just peace out. And that didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was wild. And so I was just kind of like, dude, if someone else was with me who had a tag, they could have shot one of these.
Yeah.
So we find the deer, and we're on this single track still, and we look up, and he's like 80 yards above us. He'd probably gone 50, 60 yards, which is just like perfect, down in less than a minute. And so that to me and the blood trail is like some of my favorite elements of a hunt. And so I literally backtracked the blood. I found the animal first, and then it
didn't go very far.
Didn't go very far. And then I backtracked the blood trail just to experience the blood trail. I didn't need the blood trail, but I did want to go find my arrow. So I actually worked off the animal back to my arrow. Totally backwards, anything I've ever done. And so we get there, and I'm just like, did that just happen? And it's like, now we're 20 minutes, 30 minutes into shooting, legal shooting light. And I'm like, what the heck? And so we quarter up, get our photos for Insta and the web, and pack it up, and we were back at the cars at 8:30 in the morning. It was wild. And I drive a Tesla now, which is like the big joke. Everyone's giving me crap for it. But I'm putting my bike into the Tesla, my bow up front, my big, these antlers in the back of the hood, and I slam it all down, shut it, and I got so much crap for that on YouTube. People are like, oh, you Tesla guys. And I'm like, hey, man, no one's jacking with my car at the trailhead.
Yeah.
Right? No one's trying to find a nice pair of binoculars in there.
That's
so
funny.
It was fun, dude. It was like
That's
so
awesome.
quick. So quick. I made it to work by noon. Like,
all in a day's
it's wild,
work, right?
man.
I mean, you were already out there working, right?
Yeah.
Photos,
we were already working, and we were working. Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome. That's a fun story. Yeah. Look, I think this is the biggest thing that I've learned. It's just the more you can have like boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Like the more, I mean, you can call it opportunistic. I mean, yeah, you were out there working, but just being out there, getting yourself an opportunity to get in front of an animal. I mean, that's where the success comes. I mean, and I get that there's people that don't have the vacation time, like they go out for the weekend.
Yep.
And I mean, that's kind of where I was when I started. And I'm like, hey, I need to spend more time. So I just keep putting more and more time together to get out there and you know, do the thing that I love and is like refreshing and
totally
like breathes life back into me.
I know.
So.
And back to the temperature too. So when temperatures are dropping, like following weather is so critical, especially here in Utah. Because if we're a month or two of warmth and you're not seeing anything, well, there's a reason why. They're comfortable. They're up top. They're, or they're not moving. But it was like 70s constantly. I mean, it was warm.
That's how this fall was. Like,
yes.
It was warm, and when we were up looking, it was hard to find evidence of it. I mean, we knew we were in the right place, but yeah, it's wild. And especially even like, I mean, the temperature, to your point, the temperature in like for mule deer, like I've noticed when we went up in the winter, we were trying to get, we had the extended archery.
Yep.
And we'd go up in the hills, and you got to get up early, get up there and get ready, because when that sun starts coming out, like you can feel like the air pressure changing, and it starts coming uphill versus downhill at night and different things like that. So it's important to understand those things, and like I said, put yourself in a position to where you can have success.
Yeah. And some of it is too, like the best advice I ever got was just boots on the ground, just get out there, put the time in. Because the air pressure, it's hard to learn that on a YouTube.
Yeah.
It's hard to learn wind on a YouTube. Guys can say it. They can be like, here's 18 steps for killing a deer. And one is wind, But until you get that 30-yard experience and it's like, oh, that's wind.
Yeah.
Then that's where you learn the lesson.
My first experience was wind.
Yeah.
And it makes for a fun experience, though. I mean,
totally.
That's the biggest thing for me being out. Like, I learn so much every time. And just talking about it, like you said, like you do the research on it and you're trying to figure this thing out, this game that you're playing, this sport. And for some people, it's not sport. There's some people that do it to try and like fill the freezer. I mean, that's how they feed their families. You start, like I grew up playing baseball, and like you start learning how to throw and like you play shortstop. Like I always taught my kids when I coached, like, what do I do if the ball comes to me? What do I do if it doesn't? That's kind of the mentality that I'm starting to put together in like my hunting experience.
Sure.
Hey, what do I do if the wind does this? And what do I do if the animal comes here? But you kind of start piecing it together, and it's fun to kind of see like your game starting to round out, and you're able to put different elements of things that you learned, whether it's boots on the ground from YouTube. But if you're not on the ground and out in the field, it doesn't matter what you learn on anywhere.
Yeah. My last piece of advice as we kind of wrap up here is it's not over until it's over, truthfully. Because there's been so many times where I have been busted on wind, and I'm like, it's over. Shoot. But man, I'll tell you what, mule deer especially, like, I don't know what to call it. It's like they're curious or they're naive and I've had ones where they bounce and they're in Wyoming in like 8 minutes. Like they are out of there.
Gone.
But like I've had more of my kills have been from, I'll maybe get busted, but then I'm just like, all right, hold on a second, and I'll keep after it and I'll, try another way in. and I get a shot. So it's not over till it's over. So you can get busted, but I would advise people, just stick with it for like just another move or two. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. We just talked with Russell Andrus. As a matter of fact, the episode we just released, and he had that same experience. He was out with Anthony, and they're chasing this bull down.
Yeah.
And he was rifle hunting, and they were like doing like Last Mohican style, right? Like trying to chase this thing down. And he gets up there and goes to draw up and like shooting the thing like bolted. But then it stopped, and he'd like dropped his like gun down, and he's like, just like defeated. And Anthony like slams him from behind, and he's like, shoot.
Yeah.
Because it bolted, but then it stopped. I mean, you got a rifle, like you can reach out and touch something. And it was, like 100 yards.
Oh, geez.
So it like ran, but it wasn't that far. So it's a little bit harder to adjust on the fly that quick with the bow. But if you've got a rifle and you're out there hunting, like don't give up. Like, just keep pursuing and getting after it. So.
It sounds very obvious, but it's true. It's like it's not over. Just give it a second. And so it's pretty cool. But so hopefully that helps. I mean, hopefully someone can kind of glean a few things from that.
No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time. I want to be sensitive. I know the show's about getting ready to open up here today. The madness is about to ensue.
Awesome.
But just real quick, I want to talk a little bit about Black Ovis.
Sure.
Because I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where, outside of buying my bow, like I think 95% of my gear has come from you guys.
Yeah.
And you guys have a great service, and your staff. I'll just tell my experience. I mean, I've gone in a couple times and had great experience. I've gone online and like chat. I've called in.
Yeah.
Like when I've had questions, and your staff is incredible. Like, hey, maybe this isn't for you, like you should consider this. So why don't you just talk a little bit about that, and for somebody that's new trying to find gear, just maybe share a couple thoughts on that.
Yeah, so quick story here. It started with CamoFire first, camofire.com. It's daily hunting deals up to 40 to 70% off. That's where we started in 2008.
The Groupon of the hunting space.
Yeah, and we rode the waves of all that, and 2008 housing market crashed, and it sounds like it'd be the worst time to start a business. But Kendall and his partner had a really cool vision, and it was like, no, we're sticking with this, let's do it. And what they found was people don't stop hunting. They're still going to hunt, regardless of what happens with the economy. So it's nice that people can get into some good gear for a better price. So it's great for new hunters. Then came Black Ovis years later, and then the Black Ovis brand, so like the stuff that I'm wearing. And what was cool is they really brought merino to the hunting space. And merino is just like the ultimate layer.
See, I haven't bought any merino yet. Not that I don't want to or that I don't believe in it. I'm just that's an element that I still need to add. Yeah. Like I'll just throw on like a t-shirt under, my gear. I got my the Sitka lightweight.
Yep.
Throw that on. I'll just wear that. But so the merino.
The merino, like the socks and the base layers, head to toe, very, very important. It's antimicrobial. It doesn't stink. Multi-day stuff. It's phenomenal. It dries out. Super, super key. So if you're comfortable hunting, you're gonna want to be out longer.
Yeah.
And if you get something and you're bringing it in, it's 2 a.m., how can we make you as comfortable as possible? And that to me is the essence of Black Ovis. It's like helping you along the way with your hunt, right? Enhancing it, making it a good memory, not like, I have these crappy boots and my socks sucked and whatever. It's like we have built a wide range of product too. Like we really go head to toe. And then we work with amazing partners like a Sitka, Mystery Ranch, Peaks, and they help fill in those blanks. So Black Ovis really is kind of that rounded out, but we are specialized. When you call the 800 number, there's a really good chance the guy who picks up was out scouting that morning.
Yeah.
So you can really drill down, and if they don't know the answer to something, they'll get it for you. And then the other cool program we do at Black Ovis is Arrow ID. We do custom arrows. So you can go on, takes about a minute or two, tell us exactly how you want it, what color, what wrap, what arrow. They'll cut it. It's ready to hunt. Wow. It's ready to take it out, and it arrives on your doorstep in a really cool box. And so that in itself is Black Ovis, and a little bit of CamoFire. CamoFire still has those amazing deals. Super cool that we have those partnerships and do those big discounted items, and it's pretty cool.
And a great place for you guys to go and look is your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
As well, when it comes to gear, my partners that I'm doing this with, like, they're the gear geeks. I like just getting out hunting, like chasing. Sure. I love talking about hunting, and I mean they do too. But they really understand the gear. And like I said, my boy Jackson, he's the one that really got me into hunting, and it started with YouTube. Like, he would have up, like, researching the gear, whether it's like Sitka, I mean, all the different boots, like the Crispy, all those different things. You guys do great comparisons. So, like, if you're new to hunting and you're trying to figure out, like, hey, where do I start? What do I need?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have great videos. It's like, if you can only, and hunting gear is expensive.
Yeah.
But you guys do a good job. If you can only get one pant, this is the pant to get.
Yes.
If you can only get, one jacket, like, you just do like a good breakdown. And you guys talk. That's the other thing that it makes sense that you bring up the temperature.
Yep.
It's like, okay, when are you going out?
Yeah.
This is what to wear in this weather. This is what to wear in this weather.
For sure.
And so it is key to have that comfort, because when you're out there, you don't want to have to constantly be like shedding layers or throwing layers on. You can, and there's time for it.
Sure.
But, the gear that you have in, like, the merino, that's the thing that I've kind of come to understand a little bit more about it, is it helps that body temperature regulate so that you can keep doing the job that you want to do.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love it. It's good. It's daunting. One of our most popular videos is the ultimate hunting kit, less than $1,000. And to a new hunter, $1,000 might be like, whoa. But truthfully, you're going to get into some good gear with stuff like that. And so, yeah, I love working with the team. We make good recommendations. And, you can be really comfortable hunting, because it can be really uncomfortable really fast in the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Adam, hey, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You guys, I'll make sure that we put links to Adam and to Black Ovis and everything, like, in the show notes. So blackovis.com, camofire.com. But yeah, check out the show notes and go give these guys a follow, and check out their gear. They've got great deals as well. So
Sweet.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, brother.
Sweet, man.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was great. Look at that, 10:02.
Boom.
Crushing.
Efficient. Good. Madness hasn't
Dude,
even
that
started.
was great. I know. Yeah, we're in a good place.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hunt Stealth Podcast. Hey, I have a favor to ask. If you would and you enjoy this podcast, head on over to wherever you consume it and leave us a review. It's going to help us get this pumped out to more people that might be interested in hearing podcasts like this.